Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Boxes. This is Seth, your Mild Mannered Mage, coming at you with another box opening today. This weekend, we are in the middle of another pre-release, and this time it is the Wilds of Eldraine. So we have a collector's boosters that we are going to booster box that we're actually going to bust into. I've only ever opened like a pack or two of collector's boosters. I've never done a full-on box before. So it'll be fun to kind of get into this. Wilds of Eldraine, Eldraine was a fantastic plane that we visited several years ago with Thrones of Eldraine. And that gave us a very nice, storybook, almost Arthurian legend, and grim fairy tales. And by far they had the best trailer video, I guess you would say, for Thrones of Eldraine. And from that video, I'm happy to see the female gingerbread woman back with a vengeance to hopefully get some payback for the loss of her gingerbread man. This set is also very exciting because they went the Strixhaven route, bringing back old cards and giving them a fresh reprint with new art in this deck, or in this set. So I'm very excited to see what sort of reprints we're going to see with that fresh art. So let's bust in. I'm not even sure how many boosters are in here. I know it's not as many. Contains 12 collector boosters, so we'll probably break that down into 2 stacks of 6. I do know that there's more foiling in here and more rares and hopefully more mythics. So let's break into this and get our stacks separated. Oh, okay, there we go. Pops right off. Toss that off to the side, and let's see what we've got here. Okay. Alright, and then here we have the angry gingerbread. Oh, and they just all slide out. Is that everything? Let's see. Yep. Okay. So we will just take this and we will pop it right back here. Alright, there we go. And here it is, our 2 stacks of 6. We'll set this one to the side over here, and these will be the ones that we're going to be focusing on. So let me know in the comments what cards you're excited to see in this set, what good pulls you were managing. And after the break, we will get into these 6 packs. And we are back with our first 6 pack openings from this collector booster box. So here it is, pack number 1. Get in there. All right, so we have our food token. All right, so Thunderous Debut, 2 green and 6, and this is for a rare, for a sorcery. Look at the top 20 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them. If this spell was bargained, put the revealed cards onto the battlefield. So I think bargaining is you sack an enchantment or an artifact. Let's sack a treasure, a clue. Otherwise, put the revealed cards into your hand, then shuffle. This is fantastic. Late game, look at the top 20 and pull 2. I really like that. So here's one of the reprint cards that we talked about. Leyline of Anticipation, 2 blue and 2 for an enchantment. If Leyline is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield, and you may cast spells as though they had flash. So this is a great, all the Leyline, or I'll say the majority of Leylines are really great. I think there's 2 in every color, and this is one of the OG ones, and gets utilized a lot. We've got our first mythic here with Ashiok Wicked Manipulator, 2 black and 3 for a legendary planeswalker. If you would pay life while your library has at least that many cards in it, exile that many cards from the top of your library instead. Okay. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, exile one of them, and put the other into your hand for a +1. Neg 2, create 2 1/1 Black Nightmare creature tokens with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if a card was put in exile this turn, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. And Neg 7, target player exiles the top X cards of their library, where X is the total mana value of cards you own in exile. All right, and fantastic art on Ashiok there. Happy to see them back. Spectre of Morality, 2 black and 3 flying Spectre for 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile 1 or more creature cards from your graveyard. When you do, each other creature gets neg X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards exiled this way. And then here is our next mythic, apparently. So we're just getting all the mythics. Kellen the Fey-Blooded. Y'all, this card is going to be ridiculous in Commander, I think. Boros, red and 2 for a human fairy that you can cast Birthright Boon, which is an adventure for a white and 1 sorcery. Search your library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Then you can cast the commander for its regular calls for a double striking 2/2. Other creatures you control with get +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached to Kellen the Fey-Blooded. So, I mean, you're just going to Voltron Kellen with all the stuff, and all your other stuff is going to benefit from him being buffed. This is going to be so stupid in Commander. We're going to see a lot of Commander decks with him at the helm, I'm willing to bet. Garruk's Uprising, green and 2. When it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have the tramples. And when a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So this is a great little uncommon enchantment. Grasp of Fate, 2 white and 1. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until Grasp of Fate leaves the battlefield. Oh, fun Shadowbox Land. Eret's Tempting Apple. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. Pay 2 and tap it to gain 3 life. Or excuse me, pay 2, tap and sack to gain 3 life. And then pay 2 to tap and sack. Target opponent loses 3. The reprint on the Soul Guide Lantern enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard, tap it to sack it to exile each opponent's graveyard, and pay 1 to sack it to draw a card. So that's a fun little, I think this sees a lot of play in Modern, which, yeah, I'm not a big Modern player. Bitter Chill, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, tap it. Tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. When it's put into the graveyard, you may pay 1 to scry 1, then draw. And then I think we're getting into our commons here. Yep. All right. So that's a good little start. Got 2 mythics and 3 rares off of 1 pack. So let's bust into pack number 2. Do remember that Smothering Tithe has been reprinted, and Rhystic Study as well, so maybe we'll see some of those in these packs. Speaking of ley lines, like we did earlier, Leyline of Abundance, 2 green and 2. If it's in your opening hand, put it onto the battlefield. When you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green, and you can pay 8 mana to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Hardened Scales, great in any proliferating deck. If you're going to put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control, put that many +1. So if you're putting at least 1, it's going to get 2 instead. I really like that art on that. That's fantastic. the Elusive Otter for a single blue mana. Grove's Bounty, green and X, distribute X 1/1 counters among any number of creatures you control. Prowess, creatures with power less than Elusive Otter's power can't block it. That's kind of funny. Sentinel of Lost Lore, 2 green and 1. When it enters battlefield, choose one or more return target creature you own in exile that has an adventure on it to you. Return target card you own in exile that has an adventure to your hand. Okay, so if it's exiled with on an adventure, you can return it to your hand. Put target card you don't own in exile that has adventure on the bottom of its owner's library. Okay, so you can take away somebody's adventuring card. And then you can also exile target player's graveyard. Nice. Choose one or more. That's pretty good. So because we're seeing a return of the adventure mechanic, that'd be a good way to end some adventuring. Questing Druid, green and 1. Seek the Beast for red and 1 to adventure it. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until your next end step. You may play those cards whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red. So anything but green, put a 1/1 counter on Questing Druid. Compulsion. Blue and 1 to discard a card to draw a card. Blue and 1 to sack it to draw a card. Okay. Curiosity. Whenever an enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. This combos out, pretty much kills a board with Niv-Mizzet Perun, I believe it is. Beautiful swamp there. Threadbind Click. Blue and 3. Rip the seams for white and 2. Destroy target tapped creature, and it makes a 3/3 flying fairy. Okay. Tenacious Tome Seeker. Blue and 2. For a bargain, you may sack an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast a spell. When it enters battlefield, if it was bargained, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Nice. And then Shrouded Shepherd. White and 1. Cleave Shadows for a black and 1. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. And then the Spirit Warrior, Shrouded Shepherd. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And then we are into our uncommons. Okay. So we're already seeing some really good stuff. Let me get this kind of... No mythics in that pack, but we got 2 right off the back and 2 really good ones, I think. So let's see. All right, another food. Lord Skitter the Sewer King. Black and 2. When another rat enters the battlefield under your control, exile up to 1 target card from an opponent's graveyard. So that would be good. This is automatically good in a rat deck. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature cannot block. So that could be fun to add to a rat deck. Maybe I'll do a deck tech on a rat video. And then here's another reprint card, Bitter Blossom, which is on theme with this set, since we are seeing the return of a lot of Fae folk. And this is a mythic rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, lose 1 life and create a 1/1 fairy rogue creature token with flying. Very nice. Bramble Familiar for an elemental raccoon. Oh yeah. Fetch quest 2 green and 5, mill 7, put a creature, enchantment, or land card from among the mill cards onto the battlefield. And then the elemental raccoon, tap to add a green and 1, and tap to discard a card to return Bramble Familiar to its owner's hand. So then you can just keep recasting that fetch quest. I like that a lot. Lady of Laughter, 2 white and 3, flying celebration. At the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more non-land permanents entered the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card for a fairy noble. Very nice. Italian's Messenger, Blue and 2 for a fairy noble flying. Whenever you attack with one or more fairies, draw a card, then discard a card. Very nice. When you discard a card this way, put a 1/1 counter on a fairy. So you make your fairies bigger. I like it. Then we've got an Intangible Virtue, white and 1. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and Vigi. Vampiric Rites, very nice single black enchantment. You pay black and 1 to sack a creature to gain a life and draw a card. I mean, you can't get much better than that, especially in mono black. Then we've got our land. Belligerent of the Ball, red and 2 celebration at the beginning of combat on your turn. If 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains Menace until end of turn. Eerie Interference, white and 2, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control this turn by creatures. Very nice. Fairy Dream Thief, single black for a fairy warlock. Flying, when it enters the battlefield, surveil 1. That's a throwback. Look at the top card of your library and then you can put it into your graveyard. Black and 2 to exile Fairy Dream Thief from your graveyard to draw a card and lose a life. All right. And then we are into our commons. Okay. So that's 3 packs down, 3 more to go in this stack. So this is pack number 4. These are kind of a pain to get into, I swear. All right, there we go. Another food token. So we're getting all the food tokens today. Another mythic. All right. So Virtue of Persistence, 2 black and 5 for an enchantment. Lockwain Scorn for a black and 1. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn, and you gain 2 life. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So we're just going to start snatching stuff. Yes, that is a very black thing to do in Magic. Let's just go in and steal everything from graveyards. I like it. Primal Vigor, that's another great hit for, it is a world effect for, it's basically doubling season as a world effect. So if one or more tokens would be created, twice that many. If one or more 1/1 counters would be put on a creature, twice that many. So that's a fantastic hit right there. Restless Vinestalk, so we got a land here that'll tap for Simic. Simic in 3 turns into a 5/5 plant creature token, or plant creature with trample, and it's still a land. And then when it attacks, up to 1 other target creature has base power and toughness 3/3. That's pretty awesome. The end. That's very ominous. 2 black and 2 for an instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if your life total is 5 or less. Okay. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, or library for any number of cards with the same name as that permanent, and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. Not going to see a lot of play in Commander, I'm afraid, but that could be a powerful modern or standard card. Gumdrop Poisoner, a black and 2 for a human warlock. Pay a black to cast Tempt with Treats to create a food token. Okay. And then Lifelink, when Gumdrop Poisoner enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. Okay. So that's a good way to eliminate a creature based off of your life gain. Dragon Mantle, so given fire breathing. Oh, and I love the art on that. That is really great. I like that. So basically, we're going to give fire breathing to a creature. You draw a card when it enters, and then you can pay a single red to give a creature +1/+0 until end of turn. So just keep pumping in that red mana. Impact Tremors, fantastic. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, deals 1 damage to each opponent. That's simple and classic. There's our 3 bowls of porridge, so revisiting the 3 bears. 2 mana for an artifact food. Pay 2 to sack it. Choose one that hasn't been chosen. Pay 2 to tap it. 3 bowls of porridge deals 2 damage to target creature. Tap target creature and sack it to gain 3 life. Okay, I like it. Graceful Takedown, green and 1. Any number of target enchanted creatures you control and up to 1 other target creature you control deal damage equal to their power to target creature you don't control. All right. Back for seconds. Black and 2 bargain. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. If this was bargained, you may put one of those cards with mana value 4 or less onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your hand. So you get a card back if you sack a artifact, enchantment, or a token. And then there is our common card. So we're cruising right through this pack and almost done. We got 2 more packs left, and that will be half of this booster box. If I can get into it. I'm trying to remember, did Ikoria come first or did Thrones come first? I'm trying to remember what was the first set that had collector boosters. I kind of want to say it was Ikoria. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. That's interesting. Another food token. Oh, okay. There's other stuff on the back. Okay, so we got rats, a knight, treasure, a beast. I love that beast art. And more treasure. Okay. I was going to say, is it just all food? I mean, come on now. Prismatic Omen, green and 1. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. Okay. Fraying Sanity, enchant player. Actually, I think I run this in a deck. At the beginning of each end step, enchant player mills X card, where X is the number of cards put into their graveyard from anywhere this turn. That's kind of cruel. Here's another mythic card, Virtue of Loyalty, 2 white and 3 for an enchantment. Let's send it on an adventure for Ardenvale Fealty. Create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. And then for the enchantment, at the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Untap those creatures. That's pretty cool for a token deck. Likeness Looter, Demir for a flying fairy shapeshifter. Tapper to draw a card, then discard. Pay X and it becomes a copy of target creature card in your graveyard with mana value X, except it has flying and this ability. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's almost like a... Oh, what's his name? The Demir shapeshifter. Lazov, I think. The Regal Bunicorn. Rabbit Unicorn. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of non-land permanents you control. Fantastic in a token deck. I mean, come on. Can't get much better than that. Stab Wound. Black and 2. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, that player loses 2. So stabbed and poisoned. We're gonna get there. Dark Tutelage, black and 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand, and you lose life equal to its mana value. That could get scary quick. Two-Headed Hunter, red and 4. Twice the rage for red and 1. Target creature gets double strike until end of turn. That's an instant. That's pretty cool. And it makes a 5/4 giant. Then we've got Greta Sweet Tooth Scourge. Black, green, and 1 for a 3/3 human warrior. She enters, make a food. A green, sack of food, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. A black and 1, sack of food, draw 1 life. Draw a card and lose 1 life. Okay. Disdainful Stroke, blue and 1 for a counter spell for mana value 4 or greater. And then here are our common cards. All right, and then here is the last pack for this stack of 6. If I can get into it. Oh, jeez. All right, and then, oh look, another food, but now we know to look on the back. We've got a traveling human. Okay. Questing Druid, green and 1. Red and 1 to seek the beast. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them. Oh, I think we've already seen this one, but in just regular print. Awesome. Greater Auramancy for another mythic rare. We've been hitting all the mythic rares. Other enchantments you control have Shroud. Enchanted creatures you control have Shroud. So that's not scary at all. Restless Fortress for a land. Taps for Orzhov. Comes into the battlefield tapped. White and black and 2. It becomes a 1/4 nightmare creature until end of turn. And when it attacks, defending player loses 2 and you gain 2. Another Regal Bunicorn. Another mythic. I mean, come on now. 2 red and 3. Embereth Blaze for a red and 1. It deals 2 damage to any target. And then whenever for the enchantment, whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you may exile that many cards from the top of your library, and you may play those cards this turn. That's kind of interesting. Knightly Valor, white and 4, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 knight creature token with vigilance. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance. Griffin Airy, at the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white griffin creature token with flying. Here's our land. Callous Sellsword, black and 1. Burn together for red. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power, then sack it. Alright, these are nice. Lots of good stuff. Tempest Heart to scan the clouds, green and 3. Draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards for white and 1. Ego Drain. I love the art on Ego Drain. That's fantastic. That'd be a great play mat. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. If you don't control the fairy, exile a card from your hand. And then we are into our uncommons. I messed up my stack here. All right, well, that is the first 6. When we get back from the break, we will crack open the next 6. We'll see y'all in a minute. And we are back with our part 2 of the opening of the collector boosters box from from the Wilds of Eldraine. We still have these 6 packs left to go, and you know, we had such a great first 6 packs. We got all these mythic rares here, so we've got 7 mythics out of 6 packs, so that was pretty good, including one of what I feel like is the best card that I've pulled so far, this anime art Bitter Blossom, which is from the, I can't remember what they're calling this, but it's the Strixhaven treatment, the Mystical Archives, taking older cards and reprinting them with new art. So I feel like this is like one of the best cards that I have broken out so far. So without much further ado, let's get into these last 6 packs here and see what we pull. starting with pack number 1. All right. All the food tokens. And this one is an elemental. Okay, so Extraordinary Journey, 2 blue, 2X. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to X target creatures. For each of those cards, its owner may play it for as long as it remains exiled, so I'm forcing somebody to cast their card a second time. Whenever one or more non-token creatures enter the battlefield, if one or more of them entered from exile or was cast from exile, you draw a card that's triggered. This ability triggers only once each turn. All right. Oh, here we go. A nice reprint of Omniscience. So this is another mythic rare. 3 blue and 7 for a whopping 10 mana. You may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. I mean, this is just OG phenomenal. You know, you get this out on the battlefield and, you know, pretty much nothing can stop you. So that is a fantastic hit. Then we've got the Horned Lockwell, 2 blue and 4. I really like the storybook art that they do for Eldraine. I think it's really fun. But anyway, Horned Lockwell. You can cast it for its adventure cost as Lagoon Breach for a blue and 1. The owner of target attacking creature you don't control puts it on the top or bottom of their library, and then you can cast it from adventure or from your hand for 2 blue and 4. Flash Ward 2. It enters the battlefield tap unless it's your turn. Okay. Then we have Talion's Messenger. I believe we've already seen this card. Mosswood Dread Knight. Green and 1. Dread Whispers. As a sorcery for a black and 1, draw a card and lose a life. And then the knight itself, trample. When it dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. I like that. That's pretty nice. Ground Seal, enters the battlefield, draw a card. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. Seasonal Growth, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, draw a card. I kind of messed those up. Beautiful swamp art here. Witchstalker Frenzy, green and 3. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature attacked this turn, and it deals 5 damage to target creature. Picklock Prankster, blue and 1. Free the Fae for 1 and a blue. Mill 4. Put an instant sorcery or fairy card from among the milled cards into your hands, and then the fairy itself has Flying Vigi. Stormkilled Vanguard, 2 green and 4 for a giant warrior. Oh, there he is on the back of the bear. Bear down for a green and 1 to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Stormkilled Vanguard can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And then we get into our commons. And there we go. All right. So already back on the mythic train with that Omniscience. So let's see what else we can pull out of here. Another food into a fairy. I do like that fairy art. That's pretty cool. As Foretold, this came out, I want to say back in Amonkhet. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on As Foretold. Once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for spells you cast with mana value X or less, where X is the number of time counters on As Foretold. So you get this out early early game, turn 2 or 3, and then just start stacking those timers and getting a free spell each turn, I think is really good. Forced Fruition, 2 blue and 4. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player draws 7 cards. I love it. That is kind of hilarious. Scalding Viper, red and 1 for an elemental snake. I really kind of like the art on that. The elemental snake winding through the library. Blue and 1 for Sting Clean. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value 3 or less, Scalding Viper deals 1 damage to that player. Court of Vantress, and this looks like it is a commander card from the set symbol here. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose up to 1 other target enchantment or artifact. If you're the monarch, you may create a token that's a copy of it. If you're not the monarch, you may have Court of Vantress become a copy of it, except it has this ability. So you can start doubling up your enchantments or your artifacts. That's pretty cool. Extraordinary Journey. Did we already do this one? Yes, we did. It was a full art one, so no need to get back into that. Utopia Sprawl, single green, enchant forest. When it enters the battlefield, choose a color. Whenever Enchanted Forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of the chosen color. Raid Bombardment, red and 2. Whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, it deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. Very nice. Got our planes art there. Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. Green and 3. When it enters the battlefield, create a food. Foods you control have tap, add green mana. That's kind of fun. Let's see. 2 green and 5. Sack it. Creatures you control get XX until end of turn, where X is the number of foods you control. That's pretty good. I like that and there's I think a food theme deck that you could build out of Wilds of Eldraine. I wonder too, the Hobbit deck. Oh wow, the Hobbit deck from Lord of the Rings, I believe, has green in it. That could be powerful, turning those foods into mana rocks. Ooh, that's something to think about. Dream Spoilers, black and 3. Flying Fairy Warlock. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Alright. And Charade of Numbing Depths for a Merfolk Wizard. White, blue, and 2. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Whenever you tap 1 or more untapped creatures your opponents control, draw a card. Okay, and it only triggers once. And then that puts us into our commons. Okay. Got 4 more of these bad boys left, so let's get into the next one and see what's what. Oh look, another food. Into a bird. The bird is the word. Archon of the Wild Rose. 2 white and 2. Flying. Other creatures you control that are enchanted by auras you control have a base power and toughness of 4/4 and have flying. That's pretty nice. Give them a little, maybe have them have a little bit of buff up, then the buff from the auras you have, and then everything else on top of that. Yeah, I kind of dig that. That's nice. Mana Flare, red and 2. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of any type that land produced. So there's a very good red huggy card, and that art is really awesome. I like that. Gumdrop Poisoner. Black and 2 for a human warlock. Tempt with treats. I believe we've seen this one just in its regular form already. Okay. Gruff Triplets. This is kind of a fun card. 3 green and 3 for a Satyr Warrior. Trample. When it enters the battlefield, if it isn't a token, create 2 tokens that are copies of it. Already, throw your token doublers in with this and just make a bunch of those tokens. When it dies, put a number of 1/1 counters equal to its power on each creature you control, named Gruff Triplets. So, you know, even if you had a sack outlet and started putting counters on counters on counters on counters on counters, oh my goodness, this thing could get ridiculous quickly. The Iron Crag, which looks like it should be the sword and the stone, but with swords, plural. 2 colorless for a mana rock to add a colorless mana. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may have the Iron Crag become a legendary equipment artifact named Everflame. Hero's Legacy. If you do, it gains equip 3, and equipped creature gets +3/+3 and loses all other abilities. For me, the equipment nature of this, I feel like isn't that great. +3/+3 is fine, but losing any abilities that you may have on that creature, I think, is a setback. So I would keep this as a mana rock. Spreading Seas, blue and 1 enchant land. Whenever it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted land is an island. Doesn't say you can't enchant somebody else's land to make it an island for Island Walk, so that might be a thing. We've got another Garruk's Uprising, a mountain. Ashiok's Reaper, black and 3 for a nightmare. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. That's with all the enchantments that are running through this, or even pairing this with some of the Theros cards. I think that is pretty darn good. Knight of Doves, human knight. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. That's not too shabby. Welcome to Sweet Tooth. Green and 1. Chapter 1 for this saga, create a 1/1 white human creature token. Chapter 2, create a food. Chapter 3, put X 1/1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of foods you control. This, again, going into a Hobbit food theme deck, I think that is a win right there. And then, yeah, well, here are our commons. We'll quick run through the commons. All right. And then there were 3. So let's see what this 4th pack, well, if I can get into it. Jeez. These have been hard to get into. I don't know what's going on with them. And I'm not seeing any easy opening things. All right, there we go. Oh, look, a food! And a human token. And the mythics just keep coming. Necropotence, 3 black mana. Skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. Pay 1 life to exile the top card of your library face down. Put that card into your hand at the beginning of your next end step. So, I mean, paying life to draw cards, that is a very black mana thing to do, so that's pretty awesome. Rest in peace. When it enters the battlefield, exile all graveyards. If a card or token will be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Questing Druid, we have seen him before. Fairy Bladecraft, black and 2 for a Fairy Rogue. Again, from the commander set decks from this set. Flying, whenever 1 or more Fae you control deal combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on Fairy Bladecraft. When it dies, each opponent loses X, and you gain X where X is his power. All right, so in a fairy-themed deck, start smacking face, put counters, sack it to gain life, and make everybody else lose life. Werewolf Bodyguard, Werefox Bodyguard. 2 white and 1 for a flashy elf fox knight. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 other target non-fox creature until Werefox Bodyguard leaves the battlefield. White and 1, sack it to gain 2 life. We've got another Raid Bombardment, a non-foil Spreading Seas, another island, the Royal Treatment for a green mana. Target creature you control gains hexproof. Create a royal roll token attached to that creature. All right, and that is uncommons. Kind of getting a little willy-nilly there in my stacks. White and 2 for Solitary Sanctuary. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Whenever you I think we've already done this one. All right. Tangle Span Lookout, green and 2. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. With all the auras, that's going to be a lot of card draw. All right, and there's our 4 commons. Down to 2. So maybe we'll hit some more mythics. Oh, there we go. And yet another food token. And this is a mouse. One of the blind mice. All right. Pollen Shield Hair, white and 1. Hair Raising, target creature you control gains vigilance and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. I really like the art on this. And then this is a creature rabbit. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1. As foretold with the anime art, so that's pretty cool. And then we've got another mythic, Virtue of Knowledge. Blue and 4, and then you can instant it for Vantress Visions for a white and 1. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. And then if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So we've got a blue Panharmonicon. So that is pretty awesome. Godric the Cloaked Reveler. 2 red and 1 for a human noble hasty boy. Celebration, as long as 2 or more non-land permanents entered the battlefield under your control this turn. Godric Cloaked Reveler is a dragon with base power and toughness 4/4, and red dragons you control get +1/+0 until end of turn, so it gives a little fire breathing there. That's pretty awesome. Bramble Familiar, another great card that we looked at earlier. Impact Tremors, another fantastic cards for your Gabo deck. Ground Seal, we've got a Plains. Glass Casket, white and 1 for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or less until it leaves the battlefield. Galvanic Giant, Giant Wizard, for a blue and 3, and then you can cast Storm Reading for 2 blue and 5 to draw 4 and discard 2. And whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. I can get down with that. And then Cheeky House Mouse for a white mana. Squeak By for a white mana. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It can't be blocked. And then this is just a simple 2/1. And then we have our 4 common cards. This is it. Here is our last pack of this set. Let's make it a good one. Maybe we'll see at least one more mythic. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. And what do we have? Another food! Yay! Okay. And then, again, a beast token with that foiling, I think looks pretty awesome. So we've got a Restless Fortress, which we have seen earlier. Oversold Cemetery, black and 1 at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have 4 more creatures in your graveyard, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That's pretty cool. I like that. Restless Spire. I don't think we've seen this one. I really like that art. That's pretty cool. With the 2 dragons going around that tower. Enters the battlefield tapped, add blue or red. Till end of turn, it becomes a 2/1 blue and red elemental creature. For as long as it's your turn, this creature has first strike. And then when it attacks, scrying 1. Here it is, another mythic. Brainard, the Ginger Sculptor. I wonder if he is the Muffin Man. Do you know the Muffin Man who lives on Drury Lane? Green, white, and blue and 1 for Human Artificer. Each creature you control that's a food or a golem gets +2/+2 and trample. That's pretty awesome. When another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature in addition to its other types, and it has pay 2 to sack this artifact. You gain 3. But really, if it's a 1/1 and Brainard is on the field, it's a 3/3. So I like him. He looks like he could be fun doing some good green, white, blue food things. All right. Talion the Kindly Lord. Flying, when Talion, the Kindly Lord, enters the battlefield, choose a number between 1 and 10. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen number, that player loses 2 and you draw a card. That's pretty awesome. Dark Tutelage. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. Compulsion, blue and 1. We've already looked at Compulsion. Here is our land. Red Tooth Vanguard, green and 1 for a trampling elf warrior, 3/1. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2, and if you do, return Red Tooth Vanguard from your graveyard to your hand. That's awesome. Troyan Gutsy Explorer, green, blue, and 1 for a Vidalcan Scout. Tap him to add green and blue. Spend this mana only to cast spells with mana value 5 or greater, and with spells with an X. Okay, so this is just kind of an X or large boy mana rock. Pay a blue to tap it to draw a card and discard a card. I wonder if he's supposed to be Jack, because it looks like he's going up a beanstalk. I think that's what he's supposed to be. And Agatha's Champion, green and 4 for a Human Knight, bargain. When Agatha's Champion enters the battlefield, if it was bargain, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. And then we get into, again, our commons. And that is it with these 4 commons. That is this box of Wilds of Eldraine. And it's a collector booster. So we got lots of great stuff out of here. Thank y'all for hanging with me through this. As a thank you, here are some codes for Magic Arena for you to enjoy. I think one is the Lord of the Rings and one is from the Wilds of Eldraine. So that'll give you some fun stuff to play with. Once again, this is Seth, your Mild Mannered Mage, thanking you for hanging out with me as I open these collector booster packs. And we will see you on the next episode of Breaking Boxes. Have a great one, everyone.